What really messes you up as you get older? Story 1. Realizing how quickly time flies, and you're still figuring things out. Thinking all these people in their 30s must have things figured out, and then remembering I'm 37. And then one day you find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. 36 now, and I remember quitting my first accounting job at 26 to figure it out. 10 years later, a couple of jobs moved, and I'm back in a nearly identical role, just making more money. Year after year, I'm just trying to decide if it's worth sinking further into the profession, or if I should pursue something that better aligns with my interests. That may as well go on my tombstone. I'm about to turn 38 and will soon start a degree in cybersecurity to restart my career. Never too late to make a change if you're genuinely not happy. The only difference is, at this older age, I'm more cautious about how I'm switching careers. I still have plenty of time ahead of me, but not as much as I used to, so I need to be smart about it. Depending on what you're currently doing, I would urge caution on this approach. Their best friend did the same thing at the same age, and here we are in our mid-40s. And he still hasn't gotten a job in IT, because everyone wants to start him at entry level, which he cannot afford because he has mouths to feed. I guess I've been having that midlife crisis lately. I'm turning 40 next week, and judging how long the men in my family have lived, it might be a fair assessment that I'm very near the midpoint of my life, if not just over it. I can remember moments from preschool, elementary school, middle and high school, college in my 20s and 30s all like they were just last week. It just doesn't feel like I should be at this point yet, and thinking about how I might be halfway already and thinking of how quickly that time has come and gone is really messing with me and how I'm perceiving the next 39.9 years. Story 2. The realization is that time is fleeting and the dreams you once had might not come true the way you imagined. The time part. Yeah, time flies so fast it's crazy. Regarding the dream thing though, yes, that is true, but on the other hand, sometimes it forces you to reassess your current life situation, and sometimes with the unforeseen opportunities that life gives you, you get to have new dreams. Perhaps more humble, perhaps way more humble than what you thought, but that doesn't make it any less special in my view. I don't know, it was just the first reaction that came to mind when I saw what you typed because this is my case. When I was younger, I had dreamt of being insanely successful. Now I know that's not really realistic, but new doors open up to me. And I'm actually redefining what success even means, and I get to go out there and do my thing, accomplishing small dreams one at a time. I think Stephen King was right when he said monsters are real, and ghosts are real too. They live inside us, and sometimes they win. Mr. King is as much a surveyor of the psyche as Sigmund Freud, I find. As I get a little older, it's not that my dreams went away. We make choices and some avenues close. Others appear, usually much more realistic and achievable, and sometimes even more satisfying. So sure, when I was a kid I wanted to be an astronaut, but as I got older, the realistic prospect of that, notions of exploring the moon as something other than a casual/amateur astronomer, are replaced by the more practical and perhaps even as enjoyable opening a bookstore/coffee shop and running that well/profitably. And the bookstore does something being an astronaut might not. It allows me to help folks who might well be struggling with their ghosts and/or demons, even if it's just a fresh cup of joe and a Danish on the house. Upon examination, it's not that I wouldn't want to train to be an astronaut or visit some far-flung lunar or Mars colony, but I also recognize that my dream of being an astronaut was also a desire born both from my curiosity as well as my desire to leave behind some very stressful/toxic situation that 11-year-old I shouldn't have had to deal with. But I recognize today that there are any number of points along the way that could have ended in a bad way. And you have to make the choice to put one foot in front of the other, through some awfully hard times, just to make things work as an adult. Being an adult is way harder than we tell kids, and it's not all fancy and fireworks. It's all about doing the work you don't want to do so that occasionally you can do what you please. I found that having lots of dreams but not being too attached to any of them works for me. I'll never become more than middling at guitar and probably won't ever become a professional pyrotechnician, filmmaker, or rich, but I did become a skydiver, a computer technician, and an electronics hobbyist. I measure success by thinking about whether my 5, 10, 15-year-old self would be proud of who I am, and they all are. Story 3. When I woke up on my 40th birthday, I thought, how am I 40 when I feel like I was 16 yesterday? My daughter, who was 8 at the time, said, "Happy birthday, Mom, you're halfway to death." The mental effect was crushing. My mom and I took a photo 10 or so years ago with my best friend with our manicures, and my mom's reaction was, "My hand looks so old." I replied that she was old. Now I'm 40 and Mom's dead, and my hands look more like hers than my own. Time is freaking brutal. Hey, at least you made it to 40. I found out I had a bad heart when I was 19. The doctor was good and trusted by everyone, and said I was probably halfway to my expectancy. I'm 27 now, and despite a very strict diet and exercise, it's looking like I might not make it too much further. The really messed up part is that I wasn't unhealthy otherwise, and it isn't in my family's history. Story 4. Honestly, back pains. I know someone else mentioned deadlifts, and while I do agree that strengthening the back muscles can help, a lot of back pain can be from weak abdominal muscles. Just think about it. Your abs support good posture and are the foundation of your back. A lot of muscle and joint pain is often a symptom of something downstream. Start trying to strengthen your abdominals, and you might be shocked at what a difference it can make. Dude, I'm 33 and a truck driver. Granted, I'm sitting down a lot of my day, but I still do physical labor pulling heavy-ass pallets off my truck. Today I woke up and all morning was like, oh my god, my back is killing me today. I had to stop at a CVS for some Advil and was leaning over my steering wheel trying to find a position that alleviated it. I'm only 33, but I've beat the crap out of my body my entire working life. I'm in for a world of hurt by the time that I hit my 40s. I feel like owning a reverse hyper has done wonders for my back. I never had any severe back trouble, but this combined with deadlifts, do not need to be heavy, and a mobility regimen, I do a bunch of other stuff too. I'm in decent shape well into my 40s. Posterior chain strength is not to be overlooked. I've been interested in reverse hypers because of my back pain. Thanks for solidifying this. So much information out there, and some things I think made mine worse. I've only been doing them on a Pilo box, no machine, but it wasn't making me worse like other things. Just started deadlifts, but with a trainer. I was always too scared to injure myself further doing them on my own and improperly. Are reverse hypers the same as hyperextensions? Story 5. The loss. It starts with a pet. Maybe. Then, you can't find your favorite cereal anymore, or your favorite snack. Your go-to restaurant closes. Your favorite actor or musician dies or retires. Friends move away. Or worse, they change into incompatible people, but they're still around to remind you of what you had. Your children grow up and have different priorities in life. Finally, you have the finality of losing loved ones permanently. But what really hurts is all the little losses along the way. And what's weird about it all is that there never seems to be enough new to replace the loss of the old. This is what I was going to put, but you put it better. Lots of other people on this thread say they're 45 or whatever and don't have their crap figured out. I do. I've got my crap figured out. Relationships, career, being an adult, I'm good at it. It's the relentless loss that screws me up. And it only accumulates the older I get. I try to accept that change is inevitable and try to keep myself curious and open to new things that help for culture. But death. Not found an answer to that yet. I'm 48. I'm in my hometown for the funeral of an older generation family member. This is the 4th one I've been to so far this year, not counting one other one that I had to miss. It's a very surreal feeling that will hit again and again as the later part of the year in my family involves getting together. On the plus side, lots of youngsters and babies keep the cycle going. We don't have the youngsters to focus on, it's just the loss, and it's a weird feeling. My family is/was tiny. Just the 4 of us, 1 grandparent, parents, and us 2 kids. No aunts, uncles, or cousins. I never wanted kids, and it turns out probably couldn't have had them if I wanted any. My sister did, but made some truly horrendous life choices with men that she picked, so never had any. So now we are in our 40s, and down one grandparent and one parent, and it just feels like, where do we go from here? I always imagined I would be an auntie and pour all of my love into those kids, but it seems life had other ideas. Oh damn, friends changing into incompatible people hurts so much. I have a friend whose political views and values are polar opposites to mine, and while I try to maintain our friendship by avoiding those topics, she's making that part of her personality her whole life. Like, all she shares on social media are political stuff. She replies to a simple question like, "How are things going?" with whatever political concern she has at the moment. While I have my own views and opinions, I don't really pay that much attention or let the world's problems affect my life or happiness. And it's so hard. I miss the days when politics was just an adult problem, and we would enjoy our lives and hang out, talk about our days. The movie that we watched on the weekend, our pets, and that silly new teacher we had. I don't have the courage to cut her off from my life because I have too many good memories with her, but honestly, I just can't find a single thing that connects us anymore. Story 6. I'm 39. I was on the road for work last month. I stopped at a hotel and the entire hotel lobby was full of young 20s kids all having a ball and drinking. I thought if I went up to my room and changed and came down here, I'd be a creepy old guy. Damn. On the other hand, if you had gone down and hung out with the young 20-somethings, you might have found out that you had nothing in common with them anymore, and that was okay because they ended up giving you a headache with their antics. Sometimes I'm too old for this crap isn't a bad thing. It spares you from hangovers and making mistakes that would have haunted you for decades. Agreed. Hang out with partying kids in their 20s for a short time and you'll quickly realize just how much you've changed from those years. I wish my wife was the same way. She had kids early and never got to have her party phase. I already went through that in my 20s, attempted to do it in my 30s, and I am way the hell tapped out. When you have so much responsibility and pressure, drinking just doesn't have the same effect anymore. However, my wife is really doing the party bandwagon. It's terrifying seeing someone in their 40s, with that much life experience and hardships, party like they're in their 20s. Every single time extreme to the point of just total obliteration, and it's anyone's guess what's going to happen on a night of drinking. I've had to just completely stop going out with her because of the amount of stress and partying, and just let her deal with her own consequences. Really unfortunate. That really does suck. When you realize you can no longer playfully flirt with people in their 20s because you're too old, when you go to a concert and are 15 to 20 years older than the next oldest person there, when you realize that younger people see you as something other from an earlier time and they can't see that you're still 25 inside. And if you had changed and gone down, you might have been welcomed with open arms and had a great time. You told yourself you were too old and that you would be rejected without trying. Same with the prior in here talking about knowing that if they go to a club or a music concert, they would be thought of as an outcast or not welcomed. As a young dude, I loved seeing older folks enjoying their life and going to a club. As an older dude, I go to clubs and enjoy myself and regularly end up chatting with people and having a good time. Story 7. The fact that my brain is still in high school while my body breaks down slowly but surely. 100% this. I had a rotator cuff surgery 8 weeks ago and I just turned 54. Had to quit my job because surgery made me realize I simply cannot keep up with a physical job. I'm looking for a sit-down job now and it seems so late in my life to start a new job, but at the same time I feel so immature. Even around people who are younger than me. I feel like I'm the youngest one in the room. When scary things happen and we need an adult, I look around for an adult. I think that a lot, but then I spend time around 18 to 19-year-olds and realize I'm not in that brain space at all. It's okay, it's really nice. I love it. I feel young, but I have some life experience. Sometimes I feel like I need an adult, but then I see these super young kids just starting out in life and realize I'm doing alright. The body thing is a whole other story though. RIP to recovering quickly and bouncing back. It's fine, it's okay. I don't mind a slower life. Story 8. Time is speeding up progressively. Now a year flies by in what feels like a couple of months. It's scary. Makes me wonder if my last 20 years will feel like 5. I've read that the best way to combat this is through novel experiences. Something about how, yeah, when your day-to-day life is all the same, the time slips away a lot faster than when you were a kid. Where every school year you had a new teacher, some new classmates, and every few years a new school to learn, as the novel experiences get less and less, your brain just kind of blends it all together. So, read a new book, visit that new restaurant, start a new hobby, and get more involved in your current hobby where maybe you'll look forward to meetups or outings with those people. When I was 45, and my father-in-law was 70, he and I talked about how time flies. He said that a year must seem like around 6 months to me at 45. I agreed. And then he said, well, at my age, a year seems like about 2 or 3 months. It just keeps accelerating. I did not grasp it until I hit my upper 50s. I cannot believe it is September already, because it was just January 1st 2 days ago. But I will take it. On the sunny side of the dirt. I feel this less when I'm super active. In contrast, I have a 3-year near blackout in my memory of my late teens/early 20s, where I was clinically depressed and my life consisted of studying and melting on my gaming chair. Hell, I barely remember my first year with my partner of 4 years, which kind of freaks me out. Time perception relies on memory. If you don't make memories, each day blurs into the next. You'll feel even more like you're missing out on life. Also, don't let your mental state deteriorate. Always be aware of the tendencies you slip into when you let go. At least, that's my experience of it. Story 9. The past. Some have trauma, some tolerate too much disrespect, and some reminisce on individuals they could have saved if they had done something differently. The past haunts everyone, dude. I know people are going to say, hey, get over it. Some people have been through adversity. Most people can't fathom. I have none of that and I still worry about the past. That time I yelled at my wife or kids, that time I was really mean to my sister and brother. I'm a good person 90% of the time, but sometimes those things I do when I'm angry haunt me. Even if everybody else involved was yelling or arguing too, I still just think I should have done better and didn't do what I did. Childhood trauma in every form can leave lasting damage that is nearly impossible to recover from. Parents were too caring, not caring enough, only child, lots of siblings, and you were neglected. This kind of thing isn't even recognizable until your 20s. And by that time, the damage has already been done. It's the kind of thing that I've really been conscious of when thinking about having children, not to repeat the same mistakes my parents made, consciously, to screw my kids up. There are certain kinds of therapy that can be very helpful with this. There's a concept known as reparenting, among others. Internal family systems and somatic experiencing are just a couple of the branches that work off of similar principles. Psychedelic therapy can offer profound healing from deeply rooted traumas to which the ordinary consciousness doesn't typically have access. None of it is easy, but it's worthwhile work to discover how much one has been carrying around and how different things can begin to feel when the process of healing begins. The trauma I experienced growing up and the crap I still deal with today makes me, I don't know, mourn the person I could be and the career I could have now if I wasn't fighting my own brain on the daily. I still have time, still have dreams, and I still have aspirations. But seeing other people I graduated with being miles ahead of me in their careers and happily engaged, married, or with children makes me sadder than I can express in words. I treat children with as much respect as I can because I got absolutely none when I was a kid and teen. My wife constantly complains about how much kids love me. Weird how if you give them something that's so easy to drum up but is more precious to them than gold, they adore you. If people treated children as human beings instead of objects to be owned, the world would be a much better place. Do you know what adversity taught me? I roll with the punches. No matter what happens, I stay centered. The survival skills I learned from my wildly dysfunctional family made it possible to make it through anything. I learned to laugh at the absurdity of life. I had cryptococcal meningitis and reacted very badly to the medication. I got out of my hospital bed and looked in the mirror. I was Simpson yellow. All that I could do was laugh at my appearance. My liver and kidneys were damaged, but my liver recovered quickly and my kidneys are somewhat recovered. I spent 5 weeks in the ICU. I stayed calm, as I learned to do in our volatile household growing up. Even when I felt the symptoms of respiratory collapse, I stayed calm and lived through it. My awful childhood was a gift. Oh, trauma. The only thing that keeps me company at the end of every day. It's the thing that always lurks in the darkest corner of my bedroom, watching with its wistful eyes. Always present on the empty chair in the room or in the passenger seat of someone else's car on the highway. It's something you can avoid your whole life as it stalks you relentlessly. That gaze burning into you and its invisible hand pushing you to repeat old patterns. Therapy helps you put on your glasses and see that the weird little creature lurking in the corner of your eye is just the kid version of you that you keep abandoning every time you turn a blind eye and ignore it. Therapy gives you the tools to acknowledge its existence. Welcome it into your life, take it by the hand, and go watch the sunset together. If you've ever walked down the dark, twisted path of abusers and sadness, you know that it's always going to be a part of you, whether you like it or not. Even walking beneath the most beautiful grove of trees will make your skin crawl a little when you stand in its shade because it reminds you of that dark path. The difference between a survivor and a victim is how you treat that little broken part of you. Story 10. Lack of exercise and making nutrition a priority. In agreement with the other poster that said that this has to be higher up, I started seeing this when I was 25 plus. I felt fine aside from the wear and tear of being human and having accidents. I didn't feel like my body was acting in any way, and I would ask my friends who were some years older and they would just say your alcohol tolerance just goes down. Cool, I got to that age and yeah, they were right. Finally, I moved abroad and started meeting sedentary people. I met a woman when I was 29 that couldn't sit down. She had to outstretch her leg and use the armrests to lower herself down. Another time, I met someone who had severe back issues at like 27. I started putting the dots together when I was complaining about my knee pain after a fall. My friend, bodybuilder, was like, try yoga, it really helped with my sciatica. That's what I did, and it helped a ton. I recommended the same to the girl who couldn't sit down. I was like, you need physical therapy. They told her she needed to manage her weight. She quit and went to freaking acupuncture instead. You know what? To each their own. The woman with the back issues also got the weight comment, and she complained that all doctors care about is if you're fat, not that it hurts. And I gotta tell ya, closing fast on 50, that it was a lot easier at 30 to lose weight, build muscle, and I could get away with eating whatever I wanted. Today, 75 minutes of daily exercise is really about what it takes to move the scale. Probably the first time in my life I've made an effort to eat 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day. I strongly suspect I was 2,000 to 2,500 for much of the last 10 years. It eventually comes back and bites you. Story 11. People you love pass away, i.e. parents, grandparents. My mom passed away in 2016. I was 30, and ultimately I had to make the decision to take her off of life support. That threw me violently into a depression I didn't realize was even possible. Only recently have I been able to start clawing my way out of. Her mother is 100. I visit her a lot, and she says the worst part of getting old is watching everyone you love die, and it never gets easier. And not just parents and grandparents, but everybody. Everyone you love will die. We of course know this, but we tend to live with the idea that we leave this place in the order we arrived, but that's not true. As tragic as it would be, it is not anything out of the ordinary to lose children, nephews, nieces, friends, and siblings. They all die, and you will keep losing more people the longer you live, until you die. I know I sound bleak, but knowing this, because I lost so many already in my 20s, has made me prioritize time with loved ones over anything. I used to dream of living in different countries and spending most of my life abroad. I don't anymore. It feels like a foreign concept, some strange person's dream. It is a way to live for some, but not for me. It would never be worth the sacrifice of time spent with the people I love. Your older relatives and friends are the first surprise, and it hurts, but also, it's something you realize you knew was coming. The one that sucks is when people your own age start dying, not from some insane circumstance, but from cancer, or heart disease, or strokes. One of my friends died of colon cancer at the age of 22 or 23. It was already stage 4 by the time he caught it, so he left fast. My sister was murdered when she was 23 too. Her twin drank herself to death because she was so depressed after losing her twin and soulmate. The deaths of my sisters are obviously what messed me and my family up the most. It forces you to grow up fast, but robs you of your childlike innocence and joy. Life becomes very blah after huge chunks of your heart and soul are ripped from you. Story 12. Romantic relationships go badly wrong and leave you back where you started, except this time you're probably less physically attractive and you have emotional baggage to carry around. Meeting amazing people goes from something wonderful to something you get guarded around. There really is only so great an ex can be before they start to really mess up your ability to move on. I've only ever had one relationship. I met my ex in 2015 and we broke up in 2017. My fault. I did crap I'm not proud of. And it really affected me. We didn't speak for years, and she had kids during that time with someone else. In 2021, we both got talking again and we realized we still had feelings for each other. We lasted a year before we broke up again. She met someone else at the end of 2022. They broke up and then she told me she still had feelings for me. From March 2023 to March 2024, I spent that whole year trying to prove myself to her, to show her it could work out. I was babysitting for her whilst she went to gigs with her mom, lending her money of all sorts. Cut to March of this year, and she tells me she's met someone. It freaking hurts so much more than it did the first time because I did everything right. Everything I could do for her, I did it. And then 2 months ago, I did something that I shouldn't have done. I tried to break them up because she was telling me how she wanted to marry him and have kids with him, and I was hurt by that. This was after she told me she didn't want that with me when we were together. And now we don't talk. The last words she said to me by email, by the way, was, "What part of I'm trying to get some sleep don't you understand?" I was listening to 3 Days Grace's cover of Somebody I Used to Know, and it was the first time I really listened to the lyrics. But you didn't have to cut me off, make out like it never happened, and that we were nothing, and I don't even need your love. But you treat me like a stranger, and that feels so rough. She broke my heart, she lied to me, and she strung me along for a year. But what hurts the most, what has really affected me the most, is that she doesn't even think about me at all, and all I can do is think about her every day. I honestly don't think people realize just how much psychological and emotional damage a bad breakup can cause. And I just don't think I can trust anyone ever again. I'm too scared to. I don't want to get hurt again. I'm not perfect. I've done things I regret, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life. But as much as I want to meet someone and be happy again, I'm scared to put my heart on the line again. Even her mom has tried to convince me to move on, saying that not everyone will be like my ex, and they won't hurt me like she did. Know what the worst part is? As much as I resent her for what she's done, I'll never stop loving her. Story 13. Personally, I have slowly lost my vigor for life. I know at every turn something will be there with a hand out to try to take from me. I've gone from wanting to fight hard for things that are right, to realizing how corrupt everything is and how I can't change it alone, so the effort is moot. Sparkly dreams fade into dull reality and you go on autopilot. I want less and less to do with people every year. It's like withering. And when you retire, there is isolation. I'm a hardcore introvert and perfectly happy being alone, but I do worry that I'll become progressively weird and lose what social skills I have left, since it's more comfortable on my sofa than being out with other people. It's not whether you win, it's how you played your game. Even Lao Tzu said that life is basically a mess down here on Earth. Just sit in the shade of an ugly tree and watch it go by. All that can really be expected is that you shine whatever light you've got. And if it's the only light in sight, I guarantee there are people appreciating it, no matter how dark it seems all around. My wife died 5 months ago. The emotions and physical effects of them were unbelievable. I've never been a happy person, so I was incredibly surprised at how bad it felt. I had planned suicide, like even moving interstate so everyone would forget about me. Then it occurred to me that I was living on borrowed time. Now nothing really matters, and I haven't felt better. I can do whatever I want, knowing that I always have death to fall back on. It's pretty topsy-turvy, but apparently a lot of philosophers have felt the same way. Maybe give that a crack. I'm guessing by the number on your handle that you are the same age as me. Interesting because I am totally going through something similar. Everything feels like one giant circle jerk sometimes. I feel myself just internally eye-rolling at everything sometimes. I started working in marketing, and one thing that I've come to realize is that being the best at something is hardly good enough. It's more about who makes the most noise and who can shout, "Hey, look at me," the loudest. This fact exhausts me. We are a society of hey look at me people and businesses who are all trying to one-up each other. It makes you just want to check out and disappear for a while. Anyway, thanks for sharing this, and I hope that in spite of this, we all can find something to smile at every day. Story 14. Adults don't know crap. No one really knows what they're doing. We're all just throwing crap at the wall and hoping it sticks. Adding for clarity, I understand that this reads as though all adults are incompetent or actually don't know anything. Fair, I could have written it better. That was not my intended meaning though. What I should have said is that, as kids, adults had all the answers. They knew everything, and everything was always under control. But now that I myself am an adult and kids have this expectation of me, I am wholly aware of what an unrealistic expectation that is, because I am aware of how much I don't know. There are things I'm pretty good at, and things I'm not as good at. I just do the best I can and hope it works out, and most of the people my age do the same. I really hate this sentiment. I'm about to rant a little bit, and I want you to know that the frustration is not directed specifically at you for making the comment, but just at the general notion that people keep repeating this in every thread about getting older or about what it's like to be an adult. Plenty of adults know what they're doing. Plenty of adults are equipped with the tools to navigate new situations and unfamiliar problems. It's perfectly normal to feel unsure about what to do when you encounter a new problem, but when you do, you draw from past experiences, read about how to do it, or ask people for help. And then, once you have a handle on the situation, you make a decision and move on. If there are unexpected consequences, you repeat the process. There is a method to doing this. That's a far cry from throwing crap at the wall and hoping it sticks. And if you have your crap together, you really shouldn't be encountering these kinds of situations that frequently. The average number of times per month when I'm experiencing a new problem that I truly don't know how to handle is probably less than 1. I moved to a new apartment recently and they couldn't get our couch into the elevator or up the stairs. We had no way for the movers to get it into our unit. I spoke to the building manager and was informed that there were companies that specialize in dismantling couches for this specific circumstance. I had never heard of that before. Had no idea that this was a thing. But that doesn't mean that I didn't know what to do next. I did some Googling, got the names of several companies, got some quotes, picked a place, and had my couch inside the apartment a day later. I am about to have my first kid, and I expect to be out of my element on a daily basis, especially at the beginning. But even then, I'm not going to just be making random guesses about how to do crap. I'm an adult and I have access to books, the internet, and generational knowledge through friends and family. There is such an enormous difference between the fact that adults don't know everything and the way you framed it, that adults don't know crap. And yeah, sometimes people run into major problems that can't be solved in an afternoon. People's parents get dementia, people get a cancer diagnosis, or people get unexpectedly laid off after their job transfers them to a new city and they just bought a house. There are terrible things that can happen to anyone and can make them feel truly lost. But those aren't the norm, and I don't think anyone should ever have reasonably expected that all adults would always know the best way out of a situation like that. On average, this idea that adults are just winging it and hoping it turns out okay really doesn't sit well with me, and I think people who feel that way are doing a disservice to themselves if they believe that the rest of the people their age are in the same boat. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you would like to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.